Go for it.
Probably welcome.
Today is November 9th, 2018. This is Brad from First Shop in South Beach, Miami. I'm here with,
Christian de la Iglesia.
and to my right,
Terry Quinlan.
and
Bill Whiddon.
Carlos Gimenez or Turtle.
Turtle.
we got two
Turtle.
repeat guests this time,
I
and
know.
a newbie.
I enjoy the repeat.
Fresh
guys.
meat.
Yes.
This is going to be interesting. Keegan is out there running the AV, so if anything goes wrong,
the original
blame
fresh
him.
meat.
The original fresh meat.
The
No,
forever
we're
fresh
gonna blame
meat. You
him.
know?
And Caleb is just trying to manage this all.
Wrangling kittens around here.
Okay.
Welcome to the show. It's good to
Welcome.
be,
Great.
you know, every time.
Cheers.
It's always a good time.
Well, what I really like about this show is that we've got some classics in here. We got some. Can I call you guys classics?
Sure.
Okay.
Call us
You just
old.
vintage?
Old.
You just did.
Retro.
The geriatric
Vintage,
group.
retro, historical.
Historical.
Social Security veterans.
Antique group.
An antiquated group here.
You know what I think is interesting is you've got basically the early 60s,
Right.
the mid 60s, and then the 70s. So we kind of we're picking
Covered
up.
it good.
Where do you pick
we're
up?
picking up like
I
3.
90s.
Yeah, so that's
Like,
well,
skipped a little bit. We need to
But the
fill
good
this
thing
gap
is,
in.
you're covering that first really important era for not just surfing, but for South Beach.
Absolutely.
You know, and this is where it all started.
Right here on these
Yeah.
beaches.
And you wouldn't be here. None of us would be here
No.
if it wasn't for that. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some good
That is
stories we're about to
that is
tap
the
into.
craziest part of this. I can't wait to get into it because it's so true. And no one really realizes how
Yeah.
long the surfing history is here.
Yeah, and people, what I find really interesting is how many people, when you say, "Oh, I surf in Miami at South Beach," they go, "There are no waves in
That's right.
Miami."
Oh, still?
It's like
You're not
Still,
done.
all
you
the
know,
time, still,
all
it's
the
crazy.
time.
And most of the time, they're kind of right.
But I would say they are right that there's not quality waves in Miami, but there are waves.
Yes, that's true.
There's
Well-
rideable stuff
Well,
here.
There's quality
called
waves,
stuff.
Yeah.
but not all year round.
Yeah, well, but
Because we do have quality waves.
We do.
Where everybody comes from all over.
yes, but
Yes.
that happens infrequently. But the frequency aspect of the surf here in Miami is that whenever we get a southeast wind or a northeast wind, it may not be perfection waves,
Right.
but it's
But you can get
rideable.
wet, right.
And I would also say, not that I'm taking the stage here, but that most of the guys who have stuck with it and come out of Miami over the past 50 years and are still involved in it, or at least progress through it, are way better surfers because they had to ride and they had to become meteorologists to figure out when the waves are, and they had to understand tides, and they had to know how to ride junk surf. So when you give them a really clean, nice, long line, you know, holy crap, that's like the best.
I think
you
it's
know?
I think it's baffled people over the years, even on the world tour, where they see like your Hopgoods and the Lopez brothers and
Exactly.
your Kellys and stuff, and all these
Slater,
guys
yeah.
that have come from Florida.
Yeah.
And they're like, these guys come from the smallest, junkiest surf sometimes,
Right. Yeah.
and these guys are just charging and doing so well in real waves.
They dominated. You know?
Keckley.
Yep,
Yeah.
Matt Keckley, exactly.
And nothing throws them off. You know, yes, they get these perfection waves, but the tide changes in the middle of the heat, they're still on
Right,
fire
right.
because they know how to ride junk.
Yeah. I mean, I tell people when they're going for surf lessons here, I'm like, don't beat yourself up too much about not being able to figure out or get
No.
it. But when you do, and if you can surf here, you can surf anywhere.
You
You can
much
surf anywhere.
That's it.
pretty
You can
And you'll
surf
be
here.
better anywhere else
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
if you can deal with
Yeah.
those.
That's definitely true.
And it's almost that need to find that one little bump, that one little chop where you're kind of
Yeah.
imaginative, right? You're,
Yeah.
you're kind of like,
Connect
you
two
see it
chops
right, you're
together.
kind of seeing a little bump and your eyes drifting off down the wave a little bit. You're like, oh man, I know it might kind of hit that sandbar right there if I kind of just wedge into it from here, and all of a sudden it just starts to grow a little bit or opens up because the bottom does that. And it's, for
Exactly.
me, it's one of the more exciting parts of it.
What I think is interesting is when you go to these other places, like, for instance, you know, my first experience with really good waves was when I went to California as a freshman in high school. And I saw what everybody else at the beach was going, I'm not going out in that. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Like it's still like that.
Breaking, you know, and it's If this was South Beach,
Right.
I don't know how many times I've said that.
If this was South Beach.
I would be on that for
It's
two and a
crazy
half,
how
3
it's still
hours.
said so much where people are
Oh,
just
yeah.
like, well, if that was South
Yeah,
Beach.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, that's
Let's get into the weekly happenings.
Yeah,
We got
weekly
heavy
happenings.
into this.
Yeah, no, I'm psyched. to get
I'm
into
even
it.
scared to say the first weekly happening because it is the growing popularity of the idea of Keegan's small wave contest.
yes.
There's people out there asking where they can register to be a contestant,
And we barely
judge.
pitched it.
There's sponsors lining up, and
Yeah.
banks and auto dealerships. They all want in.
How about the entry fee? Can I be in charge of that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, as far as an entry fee,
Yeah.
is there one?
It could be like, it could be from.
Donations, charities.
Let's bring him up here and let him talk about it a
Keegan.
little bit.
Keegan.
Yeah.
Keegan the intern.
Yeah,
There you go.
this is it would be
Where you going? Where you going? Where you going?
yeah.
This is your microphone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there could be an entry fee depending on whether we choose to do charity or not.
What if we don't want to do charity? We want
Donate
the
to
charity to
cause.
be us.
Well, I don't know. Maybe we put it towards like new like rash cards, like rash card comp rash cards,
Yeah, there you go.
I think
right?
well,
Yeah, no, I-
I think it's
I-
your contest, so you make the
I don't know.
decisions.
I think it'd be cool.
I think you
Well,
got it.
Bill, don't give him so much power.
Yeah.
Clearly, he's already got the run of the
wanna go-
place. I mean, how much?
Yeah,
He's
we're
got a
gonna
clipboard.
give
Come
him-
on.
him off at the
He's got a
knees.
clipboard.
You know?
If you
This
want,
guy's
if you
serious
want to
business.
get, if you want to
Serious
get sponsors, then you got to. It would be helpful to do it with a charity. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're
Right.
serious.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
think-
what I was
Because
saying.
then,
Like, you know-
you'll get, you can go to people.
I just gotta find the right charity.
Yeah, pick somebody like the Surf Rider Foundation or something
Exactly, like-
that really means
like,
something that we,
what was it,
we
like
all
our
surf
ocean
together
or
anyway.
Right.
You know,
I think we might have it in there.
Yeah.
Where?
The
Surf
cat
rider.
might
Surf
be
rider,
in
yeah.
the bag.
Yeah.
Cat might be
Yeah.
in the bag.
Anyway.
All right, there it
Make a
is.
note. Thank you,
Hashtag
Keegan.
cat
Mike
is in the
Gimenez.
bag.
Yeah.
Mike Gimenez.
You're finished.
So, in regards to parameters, this small wave contest, are we projecting this to be within the next couple weeks? Sometimes within the next couple months?
I actually was thinking after surf season,
I would, well,
like maybe like spring break.
Nobody
time.
wants to wait that long.
Yeah.
Everyone
Spring
wants
break
to get
time.
out soon. We have plenty of small days surf ahead.
All right,
and,
maybe
hey,
like-
and we had said one of the biggest tips of this thing is if the waves get bigger than waist high,
It's
contest is off.
off.
Right.
No way.
Maybe like
we
a-
are making
Right.
this a true small wave.
All-
small
all-
wave invitational.
Some sort of Sunday or a holiday weekend or something. seems
43
good.
days from now.
43. 43
Right.
days.
43 days.
I think it would be, yeah. But, you have to realize too, we're coming into the holiday season.
Right.
So you're gonna.
Everybody's traveling.
Yeah, you're not gonna get a lot of folks starting, Thanksgiving.
So you mean I could win?
Right. Perfect time to have
If you wanted
So
to
this thing
really
is
kick it
happening
into
sooner
the.
than later.
Yeah.
Turns out the
And
contest
I'm gonna be here,
happens
so it's
in
cool.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
First heat, 5
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
See you in the water.
Next up, I'll tweet it out.
Yeah. No, anyway, but, maybe January.
So Keegan's small wave contest happening to
Maybe
be
in
determined.
January.
Yeah.
2019.
Coming around the corner
Yeah.
when she comes.
Soon.
Annual memorial small wave contest.
Right.
Yeah.
Pro.
Pro.
Classic.
Classic.
Yeah.
Pro-am.
Pro-am classic.
It's gonna turn into a pro. It's gotta be like the triple crown.
It's pro-am.
Triple Crown Classic Pro-am charity event.
I like it.
Except with a smaller
This is
and
all-
gala.
This is
because it is
all,
South
this
Beach.
is all conceptualizing here, folks.
Yes.
So you never know.
we did not
It could
plan
be
this in
pretty
advance.
good. It could be, mediocre, but I think it's going to be good.
All right, let me just segue right into the next thing into the weekly app. Chicken tacos tonight.
Oh, wait, instead of pork tacos.
Oh, that's
For those of us that had some of the chicken tacos, Bradley.
So we might be able to do a multiple taco thing at the contest.
Would veggie tacos come into this at all?
You know, it's funny. I've been thinking about it, or maybe at least fish.
Like a veggie meat kind of thing,
Or we
or
can
like
start the
No, I mean, I got some friends that are just like, straight
fish?
or just straight vegan, and
Right.
just kind of hard to cook for me.
Right.
Do they serve?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
or we can have like Bradley.
Don't think you can have
tacos
fish when you're
for sale.
vegan.
No, they can't. So I'm thinking about trying to vary it up. I went pork,
Or just
beef,
not invite 'em.
chicken. Yeah. Sorry, Fulvio.
Yeah. You're like, you can swing by. We got beer.
I can't believe you guys are talking about the menu.
Eggplant.
This is an
contest.
important
For the
aspect of it.
contest?
Well, we were talking about the menu in general because this is the first time we've done chicken tacos and
So eggplant tacos for the
Do we
vegetarians.
have an associated taco
Okay.
contest?
oh yes.
Moving on.
There we go.
That might be
cooking and surf contest.
Listen, our surf contest went from just like a one-day kind of thing to like a full festival.
This could be like a.
That was a 3-day festival, kind of like.
We can do it with wine and food
Right.
and surfing.
That's not bad because they'll already have the thing down.
They'll have the tents and
So
everything.
you just kind of glom into
just
that.
roll right into it.
Slide down
They
to like
wouldn't.
18th Street.
They
and
wouldn't
just hang
even
out.
notice us.
No.
Yeah. I'm sure we can get a celebrity chef to come in here, do a little something, get on Talk Story.
Right.
Yeah.
They're all clamoring for it. My emails are blowing up. They're like, how do I get on the show? Like, stop.
I think we can do it.
Okay.
So let's jump into the forecast. What do we got for surf coming up?
No. We got one other
what we
major
got?
happening.
What else we got?
Bill, tell us what's happening.
Oh, the major happenings, yes. Opening up at the Museum of Florida History, which is in Tallahassee, Florida. Now, if any of you all are going to the FSU game, or you've got kids that are in school up there, or you're in school up there, you're in Tallahassee already, please take a moment, take a couple hours, go over to the Museum of Florida History and check out the surfing. It's called Surfs Up Florida. It is a comprehensive look of all that is surfing from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, all the way up to now in the Museum of History in Tallahassee. So it really is worth going and checking out. You guys, please, if you're in Tallahassee, it's worth stopping in.
And you're curating.
Actually, I've curated a lot of the South Florida part of the exhibit. And then there is somebody, John Hughes is in Brevard County and Central Florida. And then they've got a couple of people that are working on the Gulf Coast side and the Panhandle.
Wow,
so
super cool.
it is a complete look at
The whole
surfing
state.
Florida,
Wow.
which is cool. And it's also a historical look, but it's also very, very, very relevant to today.
And how long is that going to be for?
Oh, yeah, and it is up, thank you, Turtle, I appreciate that. It will be
I'm
up
gonna repeat
until,
this.
it's running from November 15th all the way through to June. So it's going to be up for
Oh, right.
almost 7 months.
And the hours are what?
During the day, mostly.
Well, during the day, yeah, probably 9 to 6 or, I'm not sure about the hours.
Go to the website, they got it.
Yeah, and actually, we'll post it on the website here.
Yeah.
And you'll see all the information.
I think it's
but gonna
5:30
be
to
great.
7:30 p.m.
That is the grand opening.
Oh, okay, good.
Oh,
Which
that's
is this coming Thursday.
Oh yeah, so November 15th they're having a grand opening.
and then but after that it'll be up for almost 7 months. So
So-
it's
There's
well
gonna be a
worth it.
lot of memorabilia, art, like
Everything from, like I said, the 50s,
Photos and everything?
the Whitman stuff, some of that, some of the old Dick Catree,
Dick Catree stuff,
the Mirtha Surf.
Sure.
That
Oh my
historical
gosh.
look. I mean, there's a number of really interesting.
So what do they
things
have, photos,
that happen.
boards?
Everything. Photos, boards, clothing.
No way, really?
I know I sent them a couple of pieces of my old surf team shirts.
Do you still
So-
have those?
Yeah, I do.
That's so
actually. Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So no, they're going to be hanging things there. I have not seen the final layout, but apparently, from what I understand, and she will be sending a video, which Chris will post on the
Yep.
on the website
Sweet.
as soon as we get it. So it will be kind of
Like
a
a trailer.
360 look at the
cool.
show. So, but if you're up there, please go by and see it because it really is. It could be a great afternoon.
Absolutely, and Bill brought this great little album of just all these old school photos and like bills for TV or for old surf flicks.
So, yeah.
I'm going to be taking a lot of photocopies of them.
Yeah.
I'm going to create our own little album of it and stuff, and just have it here and let people kind of cruise through
And
it.
also put it up on the
Yep.
on the website.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, for
Yep.
sure.
It'll
That'll be great.
go up there as well.
Yeah.
And I plan in another couple of weeks. We had just done a little photo exposition with our Instagram a couple of weeks ago with First Surf Shop, and everyone loved it. And it was all like a little bit more recent and stuff from
Yeah.
the early 2000s till now. And I'm planning to get a lot of the older school footage and being able to do the same thing for a couple
Sick.
days.
Yeah.
Probably going
Super
to do that
cool.
the week of Thanksgiving, like a Monday, Tuesday,
That'd be
Wednesday,
great.
leading up into it, and just kind of just showcase all these old school pictures from from what you've brought
Yeah.
to what everyone's kind of had.
Yeah, we've
all
got
together.
we've got plenty up there, and it's really neat to look at the old stuff and see how our beach, South Beach, Haulover, all of Miami has changed so dramatically over the last 50 years. It's incredible, and anyway, it's a great look. It's great history.
Can't wait.
Yeah,
Looking
one of the
forward to it.
weird things that's happened when we've been doing this show has been, we started it because I don't know, it seemed like a good idea, it'd be fun. But now, like, it almost feels like some sort of weird responsibility to have you guys come in and tell these stories so that somewhere they're cataloged, because eventually you guys are gonna forget all these stories, all these things are gonna be gone, and then
You mean we're getting
that's
old?
it.
Senility.
You know what I mean? Keegan didn't even know that there was a pier here.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I
Like
know.
that kind of
What's
stuff.
that?
I know, and I think it's important because, you know, Miami, as much as, and we've talked about this, people don't understand that this really does have a pretty rich surf culture,
Yeah.
and it has had a surf culture, you know, over the years, and it's maintained a surf culture.
And
over
now
the
even
years.
more than before.
Probably
Now
so, because there's more people.
There's so many
Yeah.
more surfers out in the water
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
And we're getting so many more people from Central and South America that are coming up here and that are living here, you know. And I mean, the beach has changed, but it really, once you get past the shoreline, it
Right.
really hasn't.
Right. Well, it's funny because I've always been such a fan and just a student of the surf history around here. And I know when I was working at Island Water Sports, you know, 10 plus years ago, and TQ used to come in and you know, we just kind of shoot the breeze and talk about some surf, and he would just kind of tell me all these stories, and I feel like I was a Grom just kind of listening to these things, and I know that I've appreciated every time I can hear some of these stories and kind of pass on, because I feel like surfers are some of the best storytellers around. It's like campfire storytelling, you know. And I know that when we started the Miami Surf Archive Project
Right.
nonprofit a few years back,
Right.
I was so amped that I was around guys like Bill and
That was
Terry,
great,
and that there was so many, and there was a couple younger guys that was like myself and Mike Loss,
Loss,
and
yeah.
even Lanso and stuff like
Yeah.
that were really intrigued on wanting to see the preservation of our surf culture down here
Yeah.
preserved, and not only that but told.
Right.
And it's true, you know. I mean, you can't escape getting old, you know, and eventually whether
But it's
it is
also like a weird little like side piece of Miami history that it's so easy to get swept under the carpet otherwise.
Yeah.
Well,
You know
what
what I mean?
think is,
So everything else would just get glossed over, and it's like, no, there was
Well,
nothing like that happening.
Yeah.
Because
There's this
the same
whole
thing
thing
that-
that was happening.
that everybody
It's
says,
huge.
you don't surf in Miami.
Yeah.
Oh, there's
Exactly.
surf in Miami?
Right.
Yeah, there's
what
a
I think
history
is
here.
that
Right.
you guys, yourself and guys like Michael Loss, you guys took it and really did it. Actually created what is now becoming a real historical part of Miami. Before, like guys like Bill and I,
We
we were
just-
just living our lives and surfing.
We just had stuff in books.
right.
Yeah,
You know,
or in our
and-
heads or
and-
whatever.
in
you know?
boxes and that
So
we didn't use.
but the
you know,
fact that
didn't-
you guys have taken
Yeah.
it out of the mailbox and
Right.
said and presented it to everybody.
Well, you guys
so that there
created
is.
the foundation for the history.
And I
you know?
think,
do it.
and I also, I'm sorry.
That's all right. No, I'm just saying we weren't responsible for what was going on. You guys have brought it out, and I you know, my hat's off to you guys.
Yeah, but I would also say that I have to 100% applaud you for maintaining a viable going business
You're
on
here.
South Beach
Yeah.
in this location.
Yeah.
Been easy.
I mean, that is amazing.
Thank
and
you.
It is,
That's
and
great.
I mean,
Totally.
I mean, I
Seriously.
totally, and
That's
everybody,
all.
you know, that is
good.
like,
Thank you.
We get
no,
That means a
I
lot.
was thinking about that today. I said, you know,
So how about that bro discount?
it's pretty cool, you know? No, it is. It's very cool.
Well, I'm humbled by that
And so-
comment. I'm honored because
Yeah.
you
Well, and
guys
it's
are-
not, it's
are
not
guys
easy.
I look
It's
up
not
to,
easy.
too.
But and to that point, I would say that maybe this is where we ought to base ourselves to build that rich history
And understanding.
but keep a retail operation around it so that it can continue to grow.
Right.
You
But
know?
you've always had that thought.
Right.
The conversations that we've had with the video thing,
Right.
and,
Yeah.
and the postcards,
And again, a lot of it is like, you know, I grew up as a kid, and the first surf shop I hung out at was Tradewinds on Collins and 69th Street when Sam and Jaime Brunstein first pulled that out together.
Yeah.
That was the beach that I kind of learned at. And then, I pepper that with going to, a bird surf shop as well, and
Right.
and
Carl
whatnot.
Hahn.
And for me, I was just enamored with the surf culture and industry all together.
Yeah.
So I hung out, and I really enjoyed absorbing these stories that you would hear. And then it's just that passion has never gone away, and I'm still a young Grom when I get to hear some of the older stories and
I'm
whatnot.
still a young Grom,
Right.
just being able to sit here with you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, that's, but it's so good, and
That's right, you make us feel young.
Yeah.
and thanks for saying that. But I think collectively together as a community, it's I've told Brad before. I feel like there's a certain certain sense of responsibility that we feel here at the shop, that we've got to kind of be that lighthouse for surfing down here and kind of continue it. And it doesn't, the lights don't stay on, for free. So there's got to be a component that kind of adds to it. But I think preserving what we do and even these conversations and kind of taking it from here, people that are, interested in, like myself and Brad and Mike Loss and getting, kids stoked like Keegan and stuff like that, again, didn't even realize there was a pier here.
And Chris, how many times have we been in the shop and guys come out of the blue and go, oh my God, I used to surf here in the 70s, I used to surf here in the 80s, I used to surf here, and everyone that comes here has a smile.
Right.
Yeah.
Or a story.
Right.
Oh,
and
for sure.
that they never forget.
For sure.
So
That's right.
that's so important that, they come back here and they're looking for that surf shop.
Right.
If the surf shop wasn't here
Right.
or nobody was here, they would just go,
Just
oh,
be
you
like,
know
okay.
what?
Right, the stories would be left right where they're at.
Right,
inside
and
the memory.
that's what's important, that you watch the guys come in here, and we're them.
Right.
So, and you walk in here, go, oh my God, back in the 80s, back in the 70s, back in the 60s, this is what it was like.
Right.
And you're always got to smile because, that's what we grew up with. That's
Right.
what we knew
Right.
and stuff. And that's important. That's
Oh,
really
yeah.
important.
That's why this is such a beacon for, like you said, a historical.
And it's not an easy,
historical lighthouse right here.
and it's not an easy business to do.
No.
It's not.
No,
Oh,
it's changed over the time. Like I was just talking to Scott from My Own Water Sports today, and we've been for the last couple of days. We always talk about and compare notes and kind of just talk about industry stuff and how things have changed. And is there still room for a surf shop? People buy stuff online, this and that. You see certain companies like your Pacific Somewheres and bigger feel-good places that all of a sudden they used to be all about surf in their stores, and now they've gravitated towards a little bit more streetwear and all this different stuff because their finger on the pulse is a little bit different than what it used to be. Right. And at that point, Scott and I were talking. It was like, does that mean that surf is dead in a sense of the culture and the clothing and everything that goes with it? And I think it's just it's not necessarily dead. It's just gotten a little bit more specialized, and it always
Very
been
much so.
specialized.
Very much so.
It's always been specialized, and
The culture's always back when there's waves.
Right. Right.
So,
and we noticed that with that
the
little
culture,
exposition
right,
of
whenever
pictures.
there's waves,
Right.
the culture comes right,
Right.
back.
And I think that little
everybody
exposition
hangs
that we
out,
did
everybody has that feeling, everybody's talking, everybody's,
And how great is that feeling?
Yeah.
For me, it's like when we get waves here and people come in, they stop by, they're high-fiving, they're hanging outside,
Right.
people are cracking beers, they're ordering some
Right.
food, they're laughing. That energy is
Yeah, it's a
unreal.
whole
It's
vibe.
like next level. It's what I live
So let
for.
me do the report and forecast then.
Let's get into it.
Because, actually the report and forecast
So now
is
that I'm excited, are you
look-
guys going to have waves for me for 3 days?
looking up, actually.
Because you're leaving.
Yeah, I know. I'm leaving next Friday, and so, of course, the seasons are going to
sacrificial lamb.
change. Yeah, and there's probably
We've
as
got a
well.
camera here.
So, upcoming weekend, we do have a cold front coming through. It looks to wash out right over our area, maybe
Just trying to
Saturday.
quote.
So, not looking like a major wave maker, but potential for a little bit of a creeper of a north swell. And then just like last weekend on that Sunday, we had some southeast wind kind of
Yeah.
pop up when the fronts kind of stalled on us. So maybe again for that same sort of situation, maybe an early pulse of a north swell and then some southeast wind swell later in the day,
We talking when?
Saturday into Sunday.
Right.
Next
like
week.
tomorrow?
No, like this week.
No, this week.
Okay, because we do have that front coming in on
And
Wednesday.
then, yeah, and so then we got another. This is more of
We
a
got two
major
fronts,
front.
one tomorrow
Yeah.
and then
Yeah,
another one.
Stalling
Wednesday.
one and
Right.
then one
Yeah, and so this is like kind of a whatever. Might happen, might not happen. When we got good, actually pretty fun waves last Sunday out of something similar,
Right.
a little surprising, and then next week, midweek, looks like maybe our first real good cold front of the year. The GFS and the Euro are calling it a little bit differently. The GFS has got it coming a little earlier, Euro a little bit later. GFS a little stronger, Euro a little weaker. GFS a little bit more overland, Euro a little bit more over water. So I don't know what the hell's gonna happen. Really, the computer doesn't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what's gonna happen.
So history has always been that if we have waves at Halloween, we're going to have waves at Thanksgiving, we're going to have waves at Christmas, and we're going to have a good winter. So we had waves at
My
Halloween.
elbow is itching.
We had
Yeah,
waves at
okay.
Halloween. They weren't that good, but there were still waves.
Yeah.
So we might have a good winter. And then
Is there a groundhog named?
Where's Puxatonic Phil? Is he coming out?
And you're talking about.
It's like Hialeah Jose.
Well, that's how we used to always
Yeah,
gauge
no,
it.
I agree. I remember that all those special
Yeah.
holidays seem
Yeah.
to draw.
Right. So
Well,
if you would
let's
get
hope
it
it
at
happens
Halloween
again.
was the first holiday, or whatever, and if we'd get waves, we knew we were going to
The
have a
first
good winter.
holiday of what we call winter.
Waves.
Right, of winter for us.
And
So
ladies
there-
and gentlemen,
there is-
get your wetsuits at First Surf Shop because
There
it's
you
going to
go.
get cold.
It is actually, this actually looks
get
like
a
a cold
little
front
nippy, yeah.
that's going to actually come through next week and provide
Yeah.
a little bit cooler
And,
temperatures, drier
7 mils
temperatures.
Here, it's gonna get freezing.
7
You know,
mils.
let's
The,
buy the whole place out. Come on.
The
You can
temp
do
is
it.
going to drop, the water temperature drops fast.
Very fast.
That is something that I've always found interesting, Mr. Meteorologist, is that it takes a long time to warm up, but man, it
Drops
drops
five
like
degrees
that
easy.
fast. Like the
Yeah.
first front that comes through, it drops 5-6 degrees.
Is that
know
also
why.
the case down here? Because I know up coast it drops really
Oh yeah,
quick.
no, it's
So
the
that-
same thing. And I don't know.
I
I
can
don't know
attest to
why. Then it takes forever in
Yeah.
April, March, and April to warm up.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, which
Yeah.
is odd.
Yeah.
you know?
Well,
The
I'm
upper
gonna-
half inch of water is like really nippy.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you
Yeah.
a little old school how we did, because we didn't have GPS. All we had was turn the channel on the TV.
Right.
It was Weaver the weatherman.
Yeah, yeah.
Back in
Yeah.
the day.
Yeah.
And the first real cold front was always around Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my prediction.
It's crazy how that still plays in.
I'm telling
I would,
Yeah,
I would
so
believe you
I
at this point.
I use all the science, but then I also go back to all the just like normal like farmer's almanac kind of stuff.
Right.
And when people ask like, oh, there's no waves in Miami, or when is there waves? I'd be like, go the coldest day of the year, early in the morning, and you'll see something probably very spectacular
Right.
at South
Yeah.
Beach. And like I would say the coldest day of the year is definitely like 90% of the time the best surf day of the year.
Always.
Right.
And it's usually in January,
Mosquito
February.
Right.
season.
Right.
No one gets that joke.
Yeah.
What was that?
Get it? Mosquito season.
Ah, yes. Keegan likes to wear a Speedo on the coldest day of the year.
I'm picking.
Randy Rose Jr.
Yes. Just get him some wet
Yes.
gloves and some goggles.
And a cell phone. while you're
What's
out
the
there.
camera?
Does he know Randy Rose?
I don't think so.
Keegan
I think it's going to be a
They
Speedo
should-
contest.
Definitely should be it.
That would be good.
That would be something.
That'll separate the men from the. Never mind.
The men from Keegan.
Now, if Keegan gets a 3-minute wave at the longest left
yeah.
in this hemisphere,
Yeah.
then maybe.
Yeah.
Google that one.
Yeah. Right.
Will do.
All right, so we got some surf on top.
All right.
Yeah, some interesting stuff really happening. It's wintertime coming
It's
into
starting
effect.
to change.
And then something else really weird is actually both the GFS and the Euro and the Canadian are both all picking up on something. When that front comes through and kind of washes out south of us, the tail end of that front may get some tropical development and come back
Oh, wow.
up
That's interesting.
northeast of the Bahamas.
Wow.
It's really too far out to say,
Yeah.
but for all the models to be picking up on
That's
something
cool.
similar, you
At
got
this time of year, that's stuff that
typical.
everybody
You
has to
know,
look
Chicky
for.
loves it.
Yeah.
Chicky's
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah.
all over that
Yeah,
one.
he is.
Yeah.
He loves
That's
those
cool.
tail end of fronts.
Debo.com looking at you.
Interesting.
Next topic.
Let's roll right into it. I mean, we're you know, the whole point of having these gentlemen on here was kind of to discuss a little bit of what, you know, not only just the equipment that was ridden back in the day, but also the type of surf, to even like the industry part, because I know, you know, Turtle and TQ had worked at a shop. Bill, did you ever work at a shop, or were you just?
Well, you know, I had that little experience with the Blue World paddle.
Yes. Well, right. That was more
I
than
have my
that
little-
nowadays. So there was a
Yeah.
there was a shop that, you know,
That's
lasted
enough.
for what?
It was all I needed.
2-3 years? 3 years? Well, I know
About a
you were in
year.
it for a
About-
year.
I was about a year.
You were a year, but I think
Yeah.
it total lasted about
Yeah,
3
about
years.
3, yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah, no, it's not easy.
No.
And you know, and I think more than anything, location. You got it.
Right.
You're,
Yeah, you
Right,
got to be
you're
right where the
golden.
waves are.
You're golden.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
But
Here's where it's at.
talking about going back, just one of the things that I know, TQ, you'll remember this, but and Turtle, you'll remember this. The location that we're at right now was actually part
First surf
of-
shop right here at
First surf
South
shop.
Point.
South Point and First Street was actually to our south was, you know, just geographically,
Right.
there was a dog track.
Dog track.
Right.
Actually, right here.
Exactly, yeah.
Right where we're sitting
Right,
right now. And there was a,
Now banned in Florida. Ironically
yes,
enough.
and thank God for that.
Right,
But, you know,
absolutely.
I don't want to get political, but, you know.
Right. No vaping
I'm all
use.
for the puppies.
Yeah,
but
but the vaping thing, I was like, no oil, but vaping. I don't know where.
anyway, we digress.
The dogs are not vaping.
Very easily here.
Yeah, I know, I noticed that.
Low
But
attention
but the dog park itself actually was behind us, but in front of us was a 2-story parking garage. And a
Yeah.
lot of people don't don't understand or can not visualize that, where these huge structures were right behind us, where these condominiums were. It was a 2-story parking garage, and you pulled in if you were coming to the beach, and you paid $0.25 to drive in and park under the parking garage.
And they had a
in
jack.
the shade.
They had a snack shack.
And there was
Yeah.
a snack shack.
Jack
gave the
Jack,
surf report.
Jack
Jack.
Diamond
Yeah.
Right.
actually ran a little.
With his phone.
He had
Yeah.
the first original food truck, if you will,
Right.
food truck.
But it was a
So
little.
what do you do, like hot dogs or?
He had
Yeah.
hot dogs, pizza,
Exactly.
he had great
Hamburger.
pizza, hamburgers.
And if you caught
yeah.
fished off the pier and caught blacktip, he'd make blacktip
He'd make,
burgers
yeah, he'd
for
make,
you.
yeah, he'd make fish sandwiches,
Yeah.
whatever.
But the key element was he had a telephone
Yeah.
And the surf report
and the surf report.
was right there. He'd look at it,
And he would
knew.
embellish it a little bit because, you know,
He
he'd
wanted people to come down.
keep
Yeah.
going.
If he knew
Nowadays, that would
if
be
he knew
called
who you
clickbait.
were, he would tell you.
But
So you had a,
if they didn't answer the phone, it was flat, usually. If they answered the phone, it was usually not Jack, it would be the other guy that was
You're
a
right.
tall, skinny guy.
Right.
And he'd go, 2 to 3, and hang
yeah,
up.
right. He wouldn't even say
Yeah.
anything. 2
1 to
to
2,
3.
hang
Right.
up.
It
It's
wasn't
flat,
a
hang up.
conversation.
That was it. No,
Now,
that was
did,
it.
did a lot of
How the
people
winds.
hang in this parking lot? Like, was
Constantly.
it like
That
a
was
good
it.
spot to
Yeah.
hang
That was it. That's where you
Yeah.
parked.
for both surfers and other people as well?
Everything.
Or?
Yeah, but most of the time, the surfers congregated near the stand.
They,
which was
or
on
the, and they
yeah,
took
on
the first
fourth
row.
end. Yeah, the
So
first
you
row.
would park the first row
If
because you could
were
park
a
and watch the
tourist-
waves.
Yeah, if you were a tourist and came in, you usually would not want to be around a
Right.
group of thugs hanging out,
Right.
long-haired guys,
Right.
with boards and,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you know
Yeah.
what? There was a couple hurricanes that came through, and it filled the parking lot
With sand.
with sand
Yeah.
and water, where you'd come in the morning after the hurricane and watch snappers and fish swimming in the parking lot, which was away from the beach.
And this is, at the same time, there was a pier that went out, how far? Maybe 150, 200 yards?
Yeah.
Maybe more, maybe 300 yards out. It was a fishing pier. It had bathrooms, enclosed bathrooms on it, and it also had, at the end, it had a kind of an L shape.
Yeah.
And once you got out there, the guys would, go out and fish all day. But in here, where on First Street, there was a circle.
It's
where
still
you could
there. That's
come
the
in.
circle right there when
Yeah,
you
but
turn
they,
around.
but they closed it in.
Yeah.
It used to be a little bit longer, and then it went into some different parking.
And you
in
had an
that area.
amphitheater right there
Yeah,
next to
and
it.
there was the amphitheater.
Right next to it, and it was 2 stories right here at the beginning.
And on Saturdays or Sundays, they would have, like a polka bands and stuff like that
Right.
for the old people, and they would all congregate.
I researched a
Pier.
little bit of that pier, and I remember it being called the $1 Million Pier.
That's news to
Like
me.
over the 30s and stuff like
Yeah,
that. It's
probably.
called
It never
as the
looked like a
$1
$1 million.
Pier. And then
No.
Beninsky's, they had a burlesque show,
Yeah.
and I'm wondering if that's
Yeah.
where the
That the amphitheater was.
Because
was.
at one point, that L was actually enclosed out there. If you see the old pictures, I have a picture from the 30s, and
Oh, I
it's
think
enclosed,
I
so
know
that's
what you mean,
probably
yeah.
where it was.
Right.
Yeah, but it was,
And
that's
there weren't like
really
sand dunes back then as well. We were just talking.
No, there's
No,
no
no sand
dunes.
dunes at all.
No,
The
no,
dunes
no.
were put in the 70s.
Yeah,
I think.
that was actually,
No, 80s. When they
Yeah.
put the dooms in, when they took the pier down,
Right.
they started changing the beach and they planted
To try to hold
the
the
sea oats
Right.
to create the sand dunes.
Right.
Right.
And,
Yeah,
they
they
were,
did.
and they were expanding the beach as well, because you look at a lot of the old pictures,
They-
I feel like
That was all the dredging.
ocean was coming up literally to where
That
almost
was
like
the
the
first
cul-de-sac.
dredging.
Right.
Well, this
Was
wall
the
from
70s.
from this building where the wall is, that wall, that's part of the parking
Original.
lot seawall.
yeah.
The original parking lot seawall that was there.
But also, from the standpoint of, if you go south or north of here, the entire beach was held together
By jetties.
with
By
groins,
groins. Yeah.
and they had them all the way down to
I remember them
21st
taking
Street
them out when
and
I was a
beyond.
kid.
Yeah.
Right, and so that they had put those in to try to hold the sand in.
Right.
Obviously, as soon as we got Betsy and Donna and the
Right.
hurricanes, those were
matter.
taken.
And then a lot of the hotels just had seawalls. Like a lot of the ocean just broke against
and it
the
was
seawall.
smacking against the seawall
Right.
at high tide.
It was
Yeah.
like not even a beach.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
So imagine, for those of us that live on the beach here and stuff like that, up on 41st Street or
Oh,
30th
yeah.
Street and stuff like that, right
Yeah.
where the hotel line ends or where the boardwalk is,
That was water.
is
That was
seawall.
water. Yeah.
Wait,
And
Crazy.
so the rocks right there are like remnants of seawall
the
on
rocks.
41st Street. The rocks.
No.
No.
That's all
been
stuff
redone.
through dredging
Yeah.
and trying to
Yeah.
preserve the beach and whatnot. But like where the boardwalk
yeah.
is,
Yeah.
Where-
that was a seawall.
And the water
Right.
used to come up to
Right,
there.
and where 21st Street is, where that little wall is still there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was where the sand line used to be, right
Exactly.
there. And the 2 jetties used to come off of there.
There,
Yeah.
there was
Right,
more than
right.
2.
That
there
actually-
was 3 or 4 jetties.
Yeah, down,
Down.
Yeah.
sure.
And those groins, I remember they went all the way up to
Yeah.
Hollover and
Yeah.
stuff.
I've seen photos from the 30s. They had stuff like that in.
There's still a couple of those groins right behind in Bal Harbor on the beach and stuff.
There
like
probably
that.
are.
There's
Yeah.
still a couple of
Oh
groins that are
yeah,
kind of dug in
they're
there.
buried. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like 96th Street.
Right.
Yeah.
They're you can see them.
They used that same construction
But-
in New Jersey
Right.
in the
But-
same time they were building
To
in
try
the
to hold
30s.
the-
What
Sand.
started
Asbury
the
Park and
whole
stuff.
process, to my memory, and I told this the last time, was either in 61 or 62, there was a huge north swell that came down in the fall from a low that was sitting off of Jacksonville. And there was waves that were literally breaking over the top of the First Street Pier. And it just chewed the whole pier off. And there was a big picture in the Herald. I don't know.
But
could
you know,
probably-
that happened in the late 70s and 80s. The north swells would break over the pier,
Yeah.
over
But
the top, and
but
you'd paddle. You didn't even paddle out. You
Well,
just jump off the pier.
The one he's talking about it was actually breaking and moving across all the way, and it was dumping into Alton
Exactly.
Road.
It was.
Yeah.
It was very,
All the
very-
hotels,
oh, yeah.
all the hotels got flooded along Ocean
Yeah,
Drive
yeah,
and,
I
and
remember
even on
that.
Collins Avenue.
I
And
wasn't
that-
surfing, but I remember my.
And that's what promoted the whole thing about
Right.
the replenishment
We
of the
gotta
beach.
keep the beach
And-
going.
And 10 years later, it took them 10 years to
Right.
start doing it, is when they started doing
Yeah.
the dredging the first time and dumped all this sand there. And a
Now,
lot of it
I
wasn't
had
even
heard
sand.
after the fact that doing the groins was a big fail on the part of the Army Corps of Engineers.
It was brutal what they did.
to prevent erosion and stuff, and it was,
Yeah.
and at the time that they were just not necessarily coin tossing it, but just like, all right, we'll just do this and whatever.
try
And
it.
it didn't. But it seemed like it. I mean, because they
They-
still have it up in Jersey
what-
and all
what-
those
yeah.
beaches.
Oh,
What they
yeah, don't
did
get me started, Chris,
was
please.
they were pulling up mulch from the bottom of the ocean 20 miles out and piping it in.
Right.
And they were calling it sand.
Right, and it was big
just
chunks of rock.
Right,
I
that's
remember
exactly
you
what it
couldn't
was.
walk down to the
Yeah,
jetty
exactly.
on those rocks.
Yeah, you had a lot of
And-
rocks.
Cut your feet all up.
And they just, I mean, they devastated all the natural reefs that were 50 yards offshore, up and down
How did
the
that
beach.
impact the waves?
Terribly, terribly. It killed 21st Street,
Yeah.
totally. Eliminated that wave and a lot of the other little breaks. And it changed South Beach here for a while.
But
South Beach eventually came
then a
back.
couple hurricanes came,
Yeah. moved
cleaned everything back
Right,
out,
right.
and then
Yeah.
you got waves again.
Yeah, I think, a lot of times when they do that, it works for a year or so, and then we
Yeah.
have a big weather event, and it just goes right
Yeah.
back, you know.
Throwing
But,
one into the ocean.
Yeah, basically that's what it is, you know.
Right.
But anyway, that was kind of a geographical setting of where, we are and where the pier was, and earlier we had talked about why it was so good between the pier and the jetty, and it's because of just that. It collected the sand and it
pier.
held it.
The pier,
The
sure.
pier did.
Yeah.
The pier and the jetty
Jetty.
held that sand.
Right.
So we actually had two sandbars, an outside sandbar and an inside sandbar, so the wave would actually break better through that. A lot of that you can still see kind of at Holliver with the pier
Right.
and the jetty, because it does still hold the sand, but it's not, for some reason, I think the way the geographical beach is, it's just not quite the same as it is down here.
Well, especially Holliver, that they push so much
think you
sand
would-
out into
well,
the jetty.
Where the wall is at Holliver was where the jetty used to start,
Right.
right there.
Right.
And it was a straight jetty out into the ocean.
Right.
There was no beach.
Right. I remember
There was like a
seeing-
little, almost like a little
Right. Where at high tide it was gone.
Right, right.
high tide. As soon as the tide turned, that was it. You were done.
Yeah.
That's pretty unreal.
So,
Yeah. Anyway, South Beach was always known for having good waves, even when there wasn't good waves.
that's true.
And when there was good waves, it got better. And when it was from the south or southeast, you could go to the north side of the pier
Right.
and still get that wind break. So, we were very fortunate to be living in
That time period.
this area where we could take advantage of that.
And then, as far as equipment goes and how we surf, nowadays we're riding. If it's a smaller board, it's a lot wider, a lot thicker. A lot more volume, real quirky, kind of give you a little help to get you into the surf. I mean, board shape designs back then were starting to go through a little bit of a transition from the big old clunkers that were being used in the 50s into the 60s, and short boards were starting to come around.
The
and whatnot.
evolution.
the
evolution.
breakout, yeah. The breakout was probably
How was
67,
that for you
68.
guys? And I mean, did you guys all start on much bigger clunkers?
I know he and I did.
I did, yeah.
Not me.
I used to have to drag.
Yeah, I did
board.
too.
I
And
wasn't strong enough to carry
all the old
damn
boards
thing.
had drag marks on the back by
Yeah.
the fin because you'd wear it down and you'd have to put a patch on it.
But back then, most of the boards were single fin.
Oh, they were all single
Absolutely.
fin.
Even when I started, they were
Yeah.
single fin.
Yeah.
And what was the thickness in the cloth that was being used? Were they like 8
Well,
ounces or?
Yeah.
Volan was the bait and
Volan.
main. Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in our day,
You know,
which was a heavier.
10 ounce
Yeah.
usually or whatever. But my first board was a pop out. I'll give you a real quick history of
Yeah.
where I got
Absolutely.
into this thing. In 1964, my dad said, let's go see this movie called The Endless Summer. It's playing at Sunnyland Theater in Kendall.
Sunnyland Theater in Kendall.
So we went. That's like where Dayland is.
Uh-huh.
There was cows out there. in
Yeah,
those
right,
days.
on the other side of the street.
Right.
And so anyway, we went. And
You pick 'em fields.
We watched the movie, and I was just like, I came out of there going, oh my God, I want to surf. And I'm 10 years old. And so a week or two later, my dad comes home with his big blue, what they call pop-outs back then. It was a cheap-made board by nobody, had no stickers on it. It wasn't a brand. It was just a big 9'8", huge 30-pound thing.
Did you care?
I didn't get it. It was the best thing I'd ever seen in my entire
Yes.
life. And so he would bring me to South Beach on the weekends, and he would, push me into waves. I remember he would actually pull the board, I'd lay on it, and he'd pull the board, and I'd, stand up.
Did he ever surf? Before
My
that?
dad did surf, yeah.
before that?
No.
Okay.
It
Was
on
that
board.
right into
With
Yeah,
that
we both-
movie, was it for
yeah,
both
we
of you?
both started.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, he and then I'd go in, then he'd go out on my board, and he hurt his back, and then he couldn't do it. But anyway, so he would pull me on the board, and then back in the day, that was kind of, and I don't know if you remember this, but on small days, we wouldn't paddle into waves. We would actually pull the board,
Yeah,
jump on it, and,
exactly,
and take off and stand up.
Yeah.
And on little, like ankle high or knee high. So that was my start. And then the next board I got was he took me to Ron John's surf shop in Cocoa Beach, which was at that time about the size of a 7-Eleven.
Yeah, it wasn't
in a
big.
storefront. And he said, anything you want, pick it out. I went, wow, this is great. So I ended up getting a Yater spoon, 9/8 Yater spoon, and I
choice.
thought I was,
Yeah.
I was smoking.
You had
that.
decals on your board.
Oh, I had,
Really?
yeah. And a T-shirt. Back then, you got a T-shirt when
Right.
you got the board,
And wax.
and you got wax.
You used to
You
get,
got wax.
when you bought boards, you get a leash. Well,
No,
at first
no
you didn't get a leash.
leashes.
You get a
We didn't know
bar
what
wax.
leash was, dude.
You get a bar wax and a T-shirt, and
Yeah.
then as it progressed,
Yeah.
you would get, as the leash came,
Yeah.
you get a leash.
Yeah.
So
I give a
you
bar
got a
wax
leash.
on
You
it.
got, oh my God, I got a leash and a
But
surf
it-
and a bar
and
wax
then,
and a T-shirt.
I just remember going to probably 5th grade with my Yater T-shirt on and my slip-on blue Keds.
Yeah.
And my corduroy
Converse.
jeans.
Yeah.
And I was
That was
like,
the
I
look.
was styling.
That's the look.
That was the look.
And but the
Still a
interesting
good
thing
look,
is-
I think.
I know, but the interesting thing is,
Of course.
I'm 65 years old, 55 years later, and I'm still wearing logo shirt, corduroys, and slip-on Keds. So anyway, not much changed.
No.
How did you start, sir?
That was the same thing. So it was all the same. I started back in 61, 62. My friend A.J. Roberts bought a board. I was like Bill, I didn't know what surfing was. Took me to the beach one day with him, and that was it.
Yeah.
And what was, were there people out there surfing already at that point?
There was
or?
a few people. We surfed mostly at 96th Street in those early
Right.
days.
Where were you guys getting equipment from at this point? Were you guys
And
just,
he bought the board right down here. It was a surfboard house
Yeah.
from the shop down here.
That was one of the first shops
Yeah.
here.
And he bought the board. I don't know how he got it home because he didn't have a driver's license. Neither one of us did.
I mean, even
drifted.
but in terms of surf shops, there wasn't surf shops on the East
But that-
Coast.
that-
No, there was.
There was.
There was.
yeah.
Early 60s.
Because
there's
remember
how
the
many?
Early 60s, but by 64, Ron John's was there and Coco.
And the East
And-
Coast, up coast was big.
Yeah.
It was
And
big
then-
for
Yeah,
surfing.
and Gardner
It was like
started
California.
here, and there was Surfboards Miami
Right.
moved over. Surfboards Miami, actually, interesting story about them is they started at the Dive and Surf, Adventure Dive and Surf, 27th Avenue and US 1. And
like
this is,
where the adventure sports is now?
no,
Okay.
back a little bit further
Okay,
on the
okay.
other side of Shell Lumber. Anyway, in that area. And once they, and I'm sure there's somebody out there going, yeah, it's crazy, it wasn't there. It was, anyway, wherever it was in that area. But they started there, and this guy Bruce Freeman actually who owned Dive and Surf, saw that the surfing craze was happening. Beach Boys happened, Surfing USA was going
Gidget.
crazy. Endless Summer came out. Oh my God! And he said, Dive and Surf my dive business is going to be okay. I got to start a surf business. So that's when he started the Surfboards Miami brand, and he began that building boards in a little location behind the shop on 27th Avenue. Later on, in 66, 67, he moved over to the beach here. And he had the shop right here on First Street.
No way.
And then that burnt down, and the brand was essentially gone at that point.
But has the brand come back? I mean,
No, I actually,
He
I
resurrected
resurrected it
it,
about
yeah.
20 years ago.
That's right.
I did some research and I found that, it had been basically, I trademarked it, and I have the Surfboards Miami brand now. And to date, we've built about 200 boards, and I do them for friends and people that want them. And you
Are you
guys
building
actually
boards
have some?
yourself, or?
No. I'm actually, I'm doing
Okay.
private label
Okay.
with Shapers and Cocoa Beach.
We can get you a new board.
Well, that's great because actually, one of the things we were going to discuss as well tomorrow, myself, Bradley, and Keegan, Caleb, and a couple friends are going to go and take a little field trip over to a couple buddies had built out one of the 20-foot containers into a shaping bay.
Oh, nice.
Over in Little Haiti area.
Really?
So Brad went up to Jersey a couple weeks ago and brought
New
all
York. I'm
his-
not from Jersey. I'm from New York.
Sorry.
God.
Who's doing it?
Who's
Mitch?
doing what?
The boards?
Who's gonna
The
shape?
boards? Well, we're all going to go ahead and throw a hand at it and just kind of have some
Fun.
fun. And it's funny because my whole life I've been doing ding repairs for over 20 some odd years, and I've always loved the contours of boards. I appreciate all, but I've never tried shaping a board.
Well, now's the
Ever.
time.
Shaping and blasting.
Brad shaped some boards, and he has a bunch of equipment from New York.
Yeah, that's great.
Have you shaped boards,
Go ahead and
Brad?
have fun.
And
Shape,
Keegan
glass,
just got
all
himself
bit.
a planer.
Now, but
Never
the
do
big
that.
question is who's going to glass them?
Well, that's just it. We'll
See,
probably have someone else
I
glass
used to glass
Yeah.
boards.
You might want to
That's-
talk to some folks up north.
Well, yeah, Bobby Z from Z
Yeah.
Glassing.
Yeah.
Take them up there.
Yeah, he's got a good glass house and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
you
So
want
for
somebody
us,
that's-
Yeah.
it's about
glass-
mowing
glass-
through the phone.
Once you get that
Right.
piece of art done,
Yeah.
Right.
you don't want to screw it up
No.
with the glassworks.
Oh my God, that's the most fun part. That last part.
Oh.
Glassing's fine. No, it's not fun.
Don't
Sanding.
forget the
Sanding is
70s way.
I'll take the glassing any
Yeah.
day.
I used to glass and sand.
So here's a little something that Keegan was saying that I guess Bobby Z is watching on and stuff
Yeah.
like that. He said, don't forget about the 70s tar. I guess was there a lot of tar
yeah,
God,
because-
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know where the tar comes
How
from?
did
from
you
the
hear
oil
about that?
tankers that would sit out there.
From any
No,
tank.
any of it, they would
They
pump
used
out their tanks.
They used their fuel tanks as ballast tanks. So when the fuel is a bunker seat fuel, which is like a tar, which is the crudest oil they can use, so they had to heat it
Cheapest.
up. The cheapest and the crudest. So they would get it, they burn it off, and then they used those fuel tanks as ballast tanks. They put water in it, and then they drained the ballast tanks, which is against the law. And then they
Not back then, I don't think.
and
Right.
yeah, it was, but nobody was paying attention.
Right.
But I
But
mean,
even
yeah,
then, and then they would drain it, and then it'd come onto the beach.
And
Yeah,
some,
you
of,
all-
some of the
so,
stuff was
you know,
like,
Yeah, because I remember as a kid in the 80s, it's going to be.
It was
before
like
I
cow
surfing.
chips.
Yeah.
Like,
Even
I'd
in the
always get
90s
it.
and
I'd always have
2000s.
to.
But that was
all over your wetsuit.
that tar.
Yeah.
That tar is the bunker seat fuel.
Yeah.
And they heat it up, and it's a diesel fuel is what it is, and they would heat that up, and that's what they used because it was the cheapest fuel
Right.
they can do.
And I always thought as a kid it came from because all the freighters and the containers and the big boats were always moored offshore, waiting for their time to come in to
Yeah.
unload.
No, that
and I
was-
thought that's where it was kind of
That
coming
was
from.
every tanker
Traveling-
that
was
was moving up
traveling
and down
off the Gulf Stream.
was dumping.
was dumping it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dumping
And all the hotels, they had a little
Yeah.
bottle,
Well,
of turpentine.
oil
when you
would
came
take it
over.
off. Something
Yeah,
lotion.
and I mean, I know that we're doing a big thing about straws and about plastics, and which is amazing. And please, don't leave crap on the beach, whatever you do.
Yeah.
But back then, I would have to say that it was a lot worse. I mean, there
Oh,
was,
yeah. Oh,
there
for
was
sure.
stuff that came off of those cruise ships. They literally just would throw all their trash away before
Yeah.
they got into harbor.
There was no environmental
No, I
safety
mean, it was
organizations to stop
junk
these
everywhere.
guys.
There was, they just didn't have the manpower to.
Yeah, they
Do it.
didn't. Right.
And then, or the know-how to,
Right,
how do we figure out
It was
what
an
freighter
af-
went by or where it's
Yeah,
coming
right.
from?
It was an afterthought.
Yeah.
And most people were like, "It's the ocean. It's huge."
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that's
No,
why
it went away. And I threw
They
it away,
always
so it's
say,
away.
There's sharks chasing those fish or those boats, and it's like when they come into port. That's why everybody said, oh, the inlets are all sharky. Well, it's because they're dumping
garbage,
dumping
yeah.
junk into and these sharks are like, it was like on a
Mulch.
buffet.
Mulch.
It's mulch form, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that was the tar.
The tar. Thank you, Bobby,
Always-
for bringing that
Tar
up.
balls.
Thank you, Keegan,
Yeah.
the intern, for
I think
that.
And thank God we don't have it
Next thing.
anymore.
That was
That's the
the
best.
lineups then and now.
Yeah.
Very
Every
well
now and
versed.
then, yeah, but if they get caught, they're fined so bad.
Keegan, dude, watch your foot. Seriously.
So
Keegan, the intern. Gotta love him.
So if you're getting seasick, it's because of Keegan.
Surfing then or not, we were just talking about a little bit of the equipment and whatnot. And, a lot of people, I've heard stories have been like, oh, way back in the day, there was a lot more consistency in surf, and the waves were a lot better as far as form goes and stuff like that. And we're hearing that because of the Jetty and because of the Pier, that kind of helped add to that and whatnot. But
Well,
You
guys
had
get
said
to-
I
something.
gave Bradley my theory
Right,
last
yes.
time.
And I've got it up here, and I've talked to a bunch of people about
What
it
do they
since then.
think? What do they think?
I think it's got a lot of legs, and I've been looking at it. We had a couple of cold fronts come through in early October, and I was like, weird. Higher tide seems to be breaking, and that's not what I would have thought. And I think it's because it allows the swell to come over all
Of course,
those
yeah,
inlets
yeah.
that have now been.
Because the tide's not dragging on it going
Exactly.
through the inlets. Yeah,
So I don't know
exactly.
if Bill knows what it is that we're kind of discussing
No,
and whatnot. Oh, okay.
I picked it up.
That was quick.
Yeah, I got it.
There wasn't
Everybody
as
else is
many-
out there.
wasn't
What
as
are
many
you guys
inlets.
Right,
talking
well,
about?
many at all.
well, earlier in the year when we had
Please.
TQ Terry on the show,
For everybody else's sake.
Terry had kind of proposed this idea that really blew a lot of us away, and a couple people had even kind of commented about it, and it was saying how the consistency of swell or the ability for a lot of these swells to make it all the way down to us was a lot more consistent back then because there wasn't as many inlets or jetties that were breaking up the swell
So it
from
wasn't
being able to make
degrading.
it.
It wasn't degrading.
And I would also add to that probably because all of the beach reconstructions too
Right.
has
Absolutely.
changed a lot.
Absolutely.
Of that.
It changed
because
all
that
the
changed the
topography.
tide, that changed the,
Yeah,
the whole tide.
the depth of the
topography.
water.
Right.
When you have more beach, it's
just
changing the
different.
depth of the water.
So on these events that we're seeing like a marginal, almost rideable kind of swell, at high tide, it almost seems like it fills in more here, and you'd expect it to break more, maybe a mid
You
or
would,
lower
yeah.
tide.
Yeah, because you feel like you need a bottom for it.
Right,
Yeah.
but it seems like to make it down here, it needs
It
a
needs
higher
a higher
tide,
tide.
and then it'll
Remember-
break in a couple of select sandbars. Cause it made
Remember,
it
you
all
have
the way
more
down.
water
Interesting.
too.
You do.
The tides and the water's getting higher.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's global warming, whatever it is, but if you've lived here long enough, you'll see that the
Well,
water levels are getting higher.
yeah, and the tides are a little bit more
Right.
dramatic.
Right. Well, we used to have the high highs and the low lows,
Right.
which was they call them the king tides, would only last a couple weeks. Now they last a couple months.
Seemed like
Yeah.
king tide this year wasn't so bad. Did I miss something? I mean, it just.
No.
We were affected by
Did it-
it.
were-
No, the
lot.
reason you don't hear about it because they designed a pumping system
Well, I
and
know. Right.
they raise the roads,
Right.
but the water levels are still high. So
Right.
you'll see it that the water, throughout the
They get
years
it out
has
of
been
there.
getting higher and higher. so
absolutely.
that's filling in more. So it's changing
Yeah.
the surf that we're getting and stuff.
On the subject, how they're adding.
Keegan, we can't hear you from back there. You gotta go talk on the microphone.
Kinda can.
You kinda can.
Intern.
Well,
Intern.
just
So,
join the party.
You know how they put seawalls up in the canals, if you've noticed. They hired the seawalls in the
Yes.
canals. And now what I'm thinking is, how is that going to help us? That we have the ocean on the other side, and the water levels are going to rise from the ocean, and it's going to make it worse because now the canals are going to want to balance out the ocean. It's like,
It's not going to affect it.
Keegan, do me a favor. Just focus on your studies at school.
and notes.
Thank you, Keegan.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Keegan.
Keegan the intern.
Yeah, it's a nice thought, but the Dutch have got this figured
I
out.
think you need to really concentrate on getting that contest going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
The
call-
contest
call
is
the
beating you
folks.
up.
Stay on the content.
Yeah, okay.
Keegan, they're
All right,
beating you
all right,
up.
you got it.
Don't worry about the engineering of the island.
He's got the contest under control.
I think what was pretty interesting in one of the conversations we had before going live was two things. It was localism
Oh, yeah.
down here and throughout the coastline because
and everywhere.
it seemed like growing up that Miami surfers were always seen as some of the more hardcore or just more guys that you wouldn't want to mess with. And I had asked you if that who was the hardest clique of groups up and down the beach from here going up the coastline.
Well,
And
they actually wrote about
South Beach.
how bad it was at South Beach in
Yeah.
Surfer Magazine or
Yeah,
Surfing
yeah.
Magazine
Yeah.
back in
Voted
the 70s.
number one back in the day.
We're number one, huh?
The bullet, the nastiest crowd. And I would attribute that to the fact that when we do get good waves,
we don't like sharing.
we don't like sharing them because we don't get them that often.
Right.
Everybody's frenzied.
Right,
Right.
right. And you have this frenziness that it doesn't stop. So, yeah, but yes.
No, and kind of the frenzy and everyone getting kind of grouped together kind of reminds me of a little bit of a challenge that we're having with the city locally right now, where they're trying to implement a little bit more of a guideline when it comes down to surfing and where water sports
Whoa, we're gonna go into this one?
are being had. But I just in real quick tap into it because the ordinance was created in the 60s in regards to where the surfing beach was.
Interesting.
Was that regulated back then?
Yes,
I actually got pulled out of the water at 3rd
Yeah,
Street
yeah.
by the police,
Yeah.
taken down to the station.
Yeah.
And
It
they,
was definitely regulated.
and they actually put us in jail. It was myself and 2 other guys. And we were all of 14 years old or 15 years old, whatever I was. And my mother was very upset. My picture was in the Herald.
Not for a good reason.
But even in, even in the early 80s.
It wasn't a val for being a valedictorian.
Right.
So
No.
Tiki, we may need your help again.
But, you know,
civil
even in the-
disobedience.
So, but they didn't press charges. They didn't actually book us or anything. But they just, they were trying to scare us.
But even in the early
and
80s,
I thought I was so
they
cool.
would pull you out of the water.
Yeah.
Really?
If there was
so
issues,
so
if there was
you really
issues-
didn't. We weren't really allowed to surf because I know there was,
No.
South, you were able to surf. I mean, you guys
could surf
surfed
South Beach.
21st Street.
Right.
Well, you could
So-
surf South Beach to the last stand.
Right.
And then beyond the stand to the jetty, you couldn't surf.
Right.
So you had to stay between
And on the
that
north
stand
side-
and here.
And the
And
jetty.
north side,
And the
forget
pier.
it.
On the north side, you couldn't surf.
No.
Right.
So that was it.
So and
Even 21st Street, technically, you weren't allowed to surf.
Technically you weren't, but they would.
21st
They
were
allowed
allowed,
it.
but
Yeah.
but in between, from here to 21st
Yeah.
Street.
Right.
No.
Second,
And then
third,
what about north of 21st?
second,
like all those-
second and third
Oliver.
Street,
Oliver.
second and third Street. If there was a south swell,
You couldn't go.
you would get kicked out. Yeah, if the beach was packed, they would remove you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would
I mean,
kick you out of
early
the
in the
water.
morning, you could do it before the lifeguards came
Yeah,
on.
before the
after they
lifeguards,
left.
but
Huh.
and then it once the pier came down, it kind of went away a little
Right.
bit. But if there was
Changed
issues on
the
the
bottom.
beach or something,
Yeah.
Yeah, when the pier went down, it changed the bottom at 3rd
yeah,
Street.
yeah.
But back to your point about localism, South Beach has always had a, or at least definitely in the 60s and 70s, it had a.
Even the 80s.
Yeah, and in the 80s, it had a very, very locals only,
Yeah.
kind of vibe. I would say that the haulover guys, especially on like a north swell, when the haulover people would come down, there were some that connected with this
South
group,
crew, right.
And they were
some
allowed.
didn't. And then there was the Fort Lauderdale guys, and we talked about them.
Right. And they were called the
Greenback.
The
Greenbacks.
Yeah, and they
Recently
were.
still around.
Yeah, apparently they are. Yeah, and they were. I'll probably get some nasty notes on this, but they were known as being kind of their local,
Well, Lake Worth was
group,
the same way.
and Lake Worth always had a
Yeah.
which is a little north of there.
I've always known
They
that
always
too
had-
growing up as a kid. That Lake Worth
Lake
always
Worth
had a
was a
really
tough
tough
crowd.
Lake Worth, I mean, they would
Tough
destroy
crowd.
your car in
Yeah.
the parking
Yeah,
lot.
Right.
yeah, and
They're
especially
really bad.
and back in the day, this is something that you guys probably don't remember, but every county had a number, and they gave on your tag,
Right.
you had a number by the size of the county. Well, Miami-Dade
One of the largest.
was 1.
Right. So they knew
So
who
when
you
you
were
went
from.
north
They look at your
to
tag.
Deerfield and you had a 1 on your tag, well, it was a letter, W or D or whatever, and then the tag number. And like Cocoa Beach was like, I think 13 or something, so that was, that, but when you went to Cocoa and you had a 1 and you went out at the pier, everybody knew that guy in the Volkswagen van, that's a Miami guy, and it didn't matter how many Ron John stickers you had on the car or whatever, they knew by that tag.
Right.
So-
So it's funny because growing up until they changed it to just saying the Sunshine State on the
Yeah.
bottom,
Right.
they,
used to
had
have
it on
counties.
counties.
Yeah, yeah.
And the same thing with
That's
like
right.
Dade
Dade
County.
County,
Oh, yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
North
And-
Carolina has got Outer Banks is OBX.
Yeah,
if
and
you're from the
Georgia
OBX.
has counties on there
Yeah.
still, but down here that was a problem because you kind of didn't want to go if you had a 1 and, I mean, you knew your car might not be
Right.
Right.
in the
Vandalized.
same condition when you got back.
So,
It's always good to have a girlfriend on the beach that was watching the car.
Yeah, but in that sense also, because they knew the Dade County surfers, or the surfers from Miami would take care of things, a lot of people,
didn't mess with
after a
cars.
while, said, we're not going to mess with these guys because they're not going to play games.
Right. They're not
and stuff.
nice.
No, well, they're not nice, but just,
Yeah, but-
they're not going to put up with the BS.
And
stuff.
that's very much still the case from,
Yeah.
from what I've noticed in other surfers going up coast,
Well-
from Fort Pierce and random different places.
Yeah.
You'll see a lot of guys get all puffy chested and kind of, jar at the mouth a little bit, and then Miami guys are like,
Yeah.
let's just go to the beach. Just none of this
Yeah,
jarring. Let's
yeah.
just go ahead and take care of it.
But you don't
Yeah.
see that much anymore.
No,
The
lawsuits
fights.
don't let
I mean,
that
I
happen.
remember back, in the 70s, I mean,
Yeah.
there'd be, every time there was good waves, you'd see a couple people
Oh,
go at it.
Right,
in the
but you
state-
could settle a score without either dying or losing all your money from a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Your parents losing all
Right,
their
Well,
money.
in the
right.
80s, it was taken care of.
Right.
You had a choice.
Yeah.
And you were warned. It didn't just
It was
Hey,
the Gary
yeah.
Giles theory that I
go
gave you
down
guys,
to
that
the
story.
beach, or you didn't. Okay.
What's that story?
The story I told you guys the last time with Gary Giles knocking Mike Reefman's teeth out at 21st Street.
Sometimes you just got to settle scores like that.
But I mean,
But
Gary was
nowadays-
this big and Reefman was this big.
But can you imagine doing something like that today? The parents would be on you. You'd be in, juvenile hall. You'd be.
Well, Reefman was an adult,
Well, it doesn't matter.
and Gary,
You'd still be.
Gary was like 15 years old and
Yeah,
he weighed
back
90
then
pounds.
it was kind of like, okay, everything's good.
Right.
But
So
nowadays it would be different. But anyway, there was quite a bit of localism.
Right. And so to continue with that localism and the fact that,
Which, by the way, I want one of your stickers.
absolutely.
We don't have any localism, but I want a
Flexible
local
muscle.
sticker.
Can't hurt, can it?
Surfing down here has its challenges sometimes in regards to when it gets really good.
Yeah.
And then, most semi-pros to pros know that when South Beach fires, it's a place you want to be.
Yeah,
right.
It's the unicorn
Yeah.
of the surf world for the
Right.
most part.
Exactly.
Was it still very much that way back in the day? Was it the kind of thing? I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, a lot of pros knew how good
Yeah.
South Beach was.
But we didn't have like the pros like you think about pros today.
Right.
I mean, I remember, and I think you probably remember George Machuca.
Yeah. Sure.
And I mean, we all went out and watched George Machuca rip on a, overhead day at South Beach. It was like, that was a pro.
Right.
For us, that was like, wow. And he was a pro. But, we didn't, I don't remember like seeing like real, like Gary
No, because
Cropper
remember,
Monty Codgen and those
surfing
guys
back
never
then,
had
they
it
didn't,
down.
the
they
sur-
didn't come this far south. They
No.
would go to Fort Pierce.
They go to West Palm.
but
Yeah, that they would do, right.
back then surfing, the pros was a lot different too. The contests were different.
I don't even know
There was
if
a
you
lot of
could
money
call it
involved.
pro.
Yeah, there wasn't that many pros.
Yeah.
There wasn't.
Well, because
a
it
real
wasn't
pro
as if there was
contest.
money involved like
There was
there is
only a handful of
nowadays.
guys
Yeah,
that were
there
making
wasn't.
real money.
There wasn't.
Nobody could afford to go ahead and push
Right.
themselves to all these
No,
contests and pay for it and kind of
No,
do it.
they were on your own.
Forecasting
They were on
was
your
not
own
area.
The pros back then were on their own.
I mean,
So they didn't travel. They didn't have money. They weren't getting paid much.
Yeah.
Proper,
Couple $100
Gary
at all.
Proper was getting paid well.
Well, Gary
Yeah, but-
Cropper was one of those, probably the first real East Coast pro
Yeah,
that actually made a living
he
off
made a
of it.
great living.
Yeah.
Right, but that's one guy.
No,
One
no,
guy,
I get
right,
it.
Right.
exactly.
So when
We
you're
all
looking
get
at that,
Well, and Claude.
even,
yeah.
and then back then when you're surfing in contests,
And Taylor.
when you're surfing in contests, you're surfing in a heat, and the next heat, the guy that you just surfed in a heat with is judging you.
Yeah, that's
I remember.
There we
that
go,
happening.
Keegan. Take notes on that.
Yeah.
So you're going, wait a minute,
That's a
how
real
does this
fair way to
happen?
do it.
Yeah.
So, and that discourages
I'm
a lot
gonna
of
give you
people because,
zeros.
wait.
You Keegan got all zeros. You give me all zeros. It's easy.
Things are,
So it wasn't organized. And that's what I'm
Disqualified.
saying.
Made interference.
So as
Good point.
as it developed,
Not
TQ
organized.
becomes
as it
DQ.
developed and got more organized, they had true judges
Yeah.
and stuff, and then more money came in and stuff where you're not surfing against a guy that
Were
you're
there
judging.
indicators further north that would let you know that a swell was going to get pretty decent down here? Just because with forecasting a little bit,
How did you
we
guys
have-
know that?
Yeah, but because you like Bill said,
You gotta be a meteorologist.
you become weatherman, you become forecasters.
Yeah, but you
You're
didn't even
looking
have
at it and
any-
go, hey, why did this
you had a
swell
surface
happen?
map.
Oh, because the swell came off North Carolina
And you see
or
lows
something, and
moving
you
and
see
stuff
the
like
lows,
that.
and then you learn. You say, okay,
And
that's
then
not going to happen.
To be honest,
You know?
the information's not that much better now.
you know, and the
But
lows
it is better.
and the lows go in cycles.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
That's
You
it. The
used
trend
to-
is your
you-
friend.
you can
Still
tell, like,
is.
the lows used to go
Like
off
Port-
the coast
yeah.
much closer to North Florida and Georgia.
Yeah, that's
back
it.
in the day.
When it goes North Carolina, comes off there, you know in a couple of days it's coming here, and it's also going to Puerto Rico. So you jump on a plane and go down there.
Yeah.
So you know exactly if we don't catch it, they're still getting it.
And I don't know if you remember this, but Ron John's surf shop in Cocoa Beach had a number, and it was, you'd call the number and you'd say, is Maury Pope there?
Oh,
And they-
yeah,
and
right,
remember that?
yeah,
The
yeah.
Maury Pope thing? And they would say, oh no, Maury's
be
out.
back
He's in the
between 2 and
glassing
3."
room and he'll be back in about 3 to 5 hours.
Yeah.
Because you were calling collect
Code.
Yeah.
for Maury Pope.
Code.
Because we didn't want to pay for it. This is before cell phones. So you call collect for Maury Pope at Ron John's. They say, no, oh no, he's chopping wood now. We'll be back in about 2 hours. Yeah, that mean it was chopping.
Chop.
Was that
Chop-
code?
chop was the
Wow.
key
Yeah.
word.
Pick it up.
Because
I'm ready
you
to do
didn't
with the
have to-
forecast.
yeah,
I'm ready to go 2 or 3 feet in
Yeah.
glass. Let's go.
You didn't have to pay for it. So it was either chop or glass. And they would, but you always ask for, Maury Pope was actually a surfboard label
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
the time. And,
Very
they
innovative.
made very, innovative, but.
First
anyway.
bisect surfboard.
Yes.
if I
Well,
remember
that
correctly.
was actually
later.
That was actually
Pope Bisect, right?
Yeah, that was Pope's son.
Really?
Did that, yeah. The original Maury Pope did the camel, and they did longboards, and they did a lot of things. Very innovative. But anyway, that was an interesting
I
code.
think John
that they
Peck
had.
was associated with.
I
it
think
for
he
a while.
was. Yeah. But anyway, that's an interesting.
That's
yeah.
amazing.
So maybe we should
but
start
that was-
that here, a
I know, we
special
start
code
there,
for
but
that
locals
was
to
the,
call you.
That was the code because
Someone break that surf line can.
yeah, you got to remember, you did want to pay
Is
for
Mark
a call.
Gimenez
You didn't
here?
have money. yeah,
And then that'd be code for like, it's fiery.
yeah.
Well,
You could
whoever
go
worked
in
in the surf shop, you knew when there was a freak swell or something, you'd get a phone call. Hey, the
Yeah.
wave's going off, man. You got to come here right now. What? Yeah, everybody get here.
Oh yeah.
And then you give the surf report. You guys.
I posted a picture, I guess, maybe last winter, and it was like, oh, last year, this is what it looked like. Everyone freaked out because they thought it was today.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I mean, it says it in the caption. They're like,
Nobody reads.
yeah, I know, but I got to read that.
We used to do surf reports.
I got hate mail about
Crazy surf
that.
reports. laughing.
Yeah, those are good. The Fox shop.
Yeah.
Oh,
Me and
God.
Jimbo used to do them all the
Yeah,
time.
they were
Hey,
hilarious.
we got. Oh my
Those
God,
were
we
good.
sit there for hours changing
'Cause
them
they
and
had
changing
nothing
them
else to
and
do.
laughing. Yeah.
Of what you guys remember, how many different surf shops have we had down here?
Well,
You had.
Name them when you think
Down
of them.
here,
Well,
South
yeah,
Beach,
South
or
let's go back to the original.
yeah,
Surfboard
Challenger.
House.
Well, no,
Surf-
well, Dudley's.
Yeah, but then Challenger,
Dudley started his shop probably. I'm guessing.
Little Hawaii.
Dudley started his shop in the 50s.
Yeah, Dudley.
And
Little
then
Hawaii,
Little Hawaii.
which was Margolis.
Right.
This is a surf shop in Miami-Dade County
yeah.
in the 50s.
Yeah.
Right here. On
Yeah.
South Beach.
But that was it was
Right, same place.
And
Then
then the Little Hawaii was on where? That was on like on the beach side.
Yeah,
But it was like up north
in Holly,
somewhere.
Hollandale or Hollywood. I think,
Yeah,
if I remember
up,
right.
way up.
Yeah.
And then there was Surf Jet, there was Surfboards Miami, there was Dive and Surf, there was Gardner, there was.
no, but Fox.
Well, I'm going through the.
Yeah, but Gardner was before.
Yeah,
Fox.
Gardner was. Oh yeah, wait.
Wait.
Not
before
there.
Fox. No, Gardner over here was. Yeah, he'd
No.
been there for a while.
But I don't.
He moved and then he came. And then he
Right,
moved
right.
down the street.
Okay, right.
Yeah, yeah.
He moved. Okay, when he
And
moved
then.
back.
Got that sorted out.
And then. Sure. Oh, did I say Surf?
Yeah, we're at Gardner, and then we're at Fox.
Fox.
Fox, and then Ocean Drive,
Ocean Drive. Ocean
then
Drive.
Island Water Sports.
Island Water
opened up
Sports,
here.
yeah, and then
Well,
now
you
you're
had-
the.
And then that was it. Then
Oh,
Exile.
Birds. Yeah,
Well, Birds was there.
Colin
Birds,
David.
right?
Yeah.
The original
Yeah.
bird.
And then
Ocean Drive, the same as the Ocean Ave.
Original Birds was the.
It was Fox and Ocean Ave was the same.
Yeah,
They
it's on
moved.
Biscayne Boulevard.
Fox went to
And now I have
West
the-
Palm.
Right.
Ocean
I
Ave
still
went to
have that
Melbourne.
Surf Team t-shirt,
Ocean
which
Drive
is gonna
bought
be
it.
displayed up at
Okay.
the.
And then when they sold out, Island World
And then
bought
he
it.
went to Longboard House.
You had Island World that bought
So
it.
We're up to about 12 shops
About
now. And then you
12.
have
Yeah, and then Exile opened. It was closed
Exile.
off here, and
The
then you
lion
guys.
shop that was over there.
for Unfit for a hot minute.
What was, yeah, that never,
14.
I couldn't even find it.
The lion one.
Yeah, did that like go?
It was like a shaping room / kind of
okay.
surf shop. It was on
Very long story.
Fifth and
Yeah.
When
or
was this, Chris?
Jefferson.
That was like
2000.
early
Yeah, early
90s.
2000.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Three.
What was the name of that?
Lions.
Yeah, yeah,
Shop
yeah.
or
That
something
wasn't.
like that.
Eric and
So
Daniel.
you got
Then
you
Exile
got the
opened
surf
up.
shop, and then it turned into Birds.
Exile, yeah.
Right.
That was Carl and David Hahn.
Right.
No.
And then
And then Exile opened up.
Exile, which was right over
That was in the
here.
90s. It was on
over-
Washington.
yeah.
and-
Right,
Wouldn't that close 2005, 6, 7?
Oh, I think they were in the 80s. They were
closed.
88. I
Well,
think.
Exile?
Yeah.
Exile closed like 2000.
And then for a while there was no.
Maybe a little after.
Well, right. Mark, my
I went
former
there.
business
Over
partner,
there.
or he had started the Shack
Yeah,
in like
the Shack.
2002 or something
Right,
like that for
right.
like 2 years.
Yeah,
And then it didn't work out, and then we started first in 2008,
yeah,
and
and you're it basically.
we're here. Well, then Scott, Island Water Sports, North Miami.
Yeah, but isn't there?
But we already
He's
said
been
that.
around 35
Is there
years. And he
a
was back up on
Quicksilver's?
167th originally.
Yeah, there's the Quicksilver
Moved to
shop, and then he opened the Quicksilvers.
Oh,
Quicksilver's still there, right?
No,
You
they
had-
closed about 3 years ago.
Yeah, but that's really. Can you really count that?
Well, when they first opened, it felt like a surf shop because it was
Yeah.
the third store in the company, and they weren't corporate. So, and for me, that was actually growing up as a
Actually,
kid and hearing the stories between your South Beach and the Hollover, sometimes battling each other, like, oh, I'm Hollover, come South Beach, at different times.
Right.
The Quicksilver store was the first time that I saw both beaches or kids or people that surf both beaches actually worked under the same roof for the most part.
Did you work there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I started there in 2000.
Do you remember when we put up 6 Surfboards Miamis in there? Were you there when that? I think it might have been before
Probably.
you.
No, I mean, I was there from the first day it opened.
Really?
Yeah.
This might have been a little that. Well, anyway, we had a 6 boards, and they consigned them.
Yes,
Paid us.
I think I remember.
And but the interesting thing is the guy, I guess it was the manager.
Steve Molnar.
Steve.
It was Steve and Kim. Kimmy,
And-
she was like a short little
Yeah, I
blonde
remember
girl.
Kim.
She,
But they sold them.
right.
And I said, do you want to, you want me to make? He's like, no. I said, okay, that's no problem. And I said, well, who bought them? Am I going to see them at the beach? And he said, no. Most of them were bought by, rappers and people who live in urban areas like Detroit, New York and stuff, because they wanted something with the word Miami on it, and they want to hang it on their wall.
Sounds just
And I'm
about
like,
right.
yeah. And I'm like,
So it does,
what the heck, you
my
know?
crappy rails are
We
going to
can
work
make
out just
some-
fine
I can make some
tomorrow.
really cool looking art and stuff on them, Yeah, anyway.
What was the name of the shop that was on
Hard
71st Street?
Liquid 2.
Liquid
That's
2,
right. That's
Eduardo.
right. You're right.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I forgot
Eduardo.
Eduardo.
Yeah.
So that's about 13 shops right there.
Ah, good one.
13,
You
14
remember
shops.
Catch a wave.
Augie Diaz from the
Sure,
Surf Shop?
sure.
Remember Augie?
Augie.
IWS
Look at the
down
rails
south.
on this board, man.
I
I
know.
tell you, this board is
He
for
never
you.
surfed.
The guy never
There was a
surfed.
Blue Hawaii down south and on US 1 as well.
Augie, yeah. This guy was a
Augie,
character.
Oh, the
Blue Hawaii
place.
on where there was
In
an
the
Island
Grove.
Water Sports on
remember
the US
that.
1 right
Yeah,
by
yeah, yeah.
where Miami's Best was.
Yeah,
The way he would
also
smile
the
at you.
Grove
I
shop.
was like,
Huh?
There was a shop in the Grove,
I
Blue
tell you,
Water or
man,
something.
Catch a
Catch a Wave.
Catch a Wave, which is still there. Right, so we're up to like
Upwind surfing, I
Well,
think.
there was Upwind in downtown,
David
across the street from
and,
Bayside.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Who was same owners as Catchaway.
Right.
So yeah, we're up to
I
like
forgot all
15,
about that guy.
16
He was such a
shops.
character.
Funny guy.
Wow.
Funny guy.
Yeah.
But he sold boards.
He sold boards.
Anyway, yeah.
Are you guys
Catch a
done-
wave.
Are we done with the show? Seems like we're almost done with the
I'm
show.
having too much fun, man.
Oh yeah, we can keep going. But yeah, no, I think
That's great.
we hit a lot of the
Traveling
topics.
into some other, like, we were just having side
good.
conversations. I feel like we should close it because Caleb's
Let's
like gonna
finish
have to do
strong.
some hard
Yeah.
editing.
Caleb's sleeping.
Let's finish.
He's got to go to
strong,
school
Bradley.
tomorrow. Oh, no, it's Saturday.
No, Caleb.
No, I'm talking about him.
Keegan might have to go to summer school.
Friday.
Detention tomorrow? Oh, good.
Homework.
Attention.
Okay.
Bradley, walk us out of here.
Yeah, I forgot to do this. It's only 42 times that we've done this.
Episode 42.
Yeah, episode 42 in the books. Talk story from First Shop, November 9th. Caleb, thanks for doing what you do. Keegan, thanks, I guess.
Thanks for moving the camera so
shaking the
we're
camera.
gonna.
Thanks for shaking the camera.
Everyone's seasick now.
Chris, thanks for hosting
Great
us
time,
as always. And these guys,
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can
So
only
awesome.
say thank you, Chris,
Yeah,
so much.
thank you guys. I
And
appreciate
for being
it.
here, for doing it.
I'm
You're the
just,
man.
it's true.
Just another one of us that
DQ.
just kind of keeps the story
Oh,
going.
don't be modest.
team
Keeping the story going.
Thank you.
Catch you guys next time.
Good night.
Thanks for joining.
Peace. Loved it.